What's up guys, AJ here for an SMB. Today we're taking a look at the 2020 Norco Sight. Is this the blueprint for the modern day trail bike? Right, take two. Sorry about that everyone watching. There's a little bit of a migration going on with the frogs at the moment. It felt like a bit of a game of Frogger, except I was doing all the dodging of them. Hopefully didn't damage any of them at all. But we're back on the trail. We're in Squamish, BC, my hometown, these days, and we're just heading out to end trails via a little bit of a climb. The 2020 that I'm on is a build your own. It's a pretty clever little build kit. For those unaware, the build your own program from Norco allows you to select the frame material and colour that you want, and there's various packages available for suspension, drivetrain components and wheels, but your bar stem and stuff pretty much stays the same. I'm on a kit that has the top shelf 2020, I guess, Fox suspension that has a mix match of various Shimano drivetrain components. We've got SLX brakes, 4-pot, and a set of XT running gear on an SLX cassette. I've been riding the Sight since March when I took it to Australia. From everything from loose over hard surfaces with like high speed, kind of smoother trail, to downhill tracks, like state and regional downhill tracks. And it also accompanied me on a trip to Medina in Tasmania, which was pretty wild. And I've done some riding at home in Squamish on it. And the bike is very capable, and that variety of terrain that it's ridden on really speaks bounds to what it can do. It is somewhat of a Swiss Army knife. It's kind of a quiver killer. I think most people are really looking for just that one bike that can do a lot of stuff well, but you're never going to get something that's going to do everything as well as something specific for that area. That said, the 2020 Sight really covers a gamut of trail styles and riding styles very well. So yeah, it's a bit of a quiver killer, the old Sight. It could easily be firmed up and ridden as a bit of a XC bike, especially on the North Shore of Vancouver or Whistler or in Squamish. But it's also capable of days in the bike park, and it's done a week with me in the Medina bike park in Australia. I'll overlay with some imagery and helmet cam from down there, and you can see it's rough, it's fast. There's obviously smoother trails too, but it really does cover a wide range of trail use, so it makes it an excellent consideration for anyone looking for a trail bike, or maybe looking to downsize their current selection of bikes and focus on more like one or two. That said, it does have a couple of things that work against it. It is It is on the more portly side, but it's also an extra large, and I actually can't think of a bike that I've personally had time on in an XL or an XXL size that doesn't weigh into the mid 30-pound range, sort of that 14 to 16 kg. I don't know the conversion too well, but this guy without pedals weighs 15.4 kilograms. For those that are concerned with it. The static weight is deceptive though, because the bike is able to climb really well, and any errors are usually rider focused more than the bike having an issue with something on the uphills, and a lot of that's to do with the geometry. It's got a nice steep 78-degree seat angle on the extra large, and something that Norco do differently to most others is steepen the seat angle as the sizes get bigger, which is great because typically we see seat angles get slacker as the seat extension goes up. That dynamic measurement that brands are choosing to use now more often is slacker. Another component that helps it climb is the longer seat stays. So the two combined give a much better distribution of the mass over the wheels, over the wheelbase, and it really is comfortable to climb. The only time I have trouble climbing it is when I need to muscle a little bit more or something's really steep. I find the shorter reach, well, it's a longer reach for many, it's a 515 reach, but for me at 191 centimeters, I'm at the very upper end of their XL size chart. I just scrape in, and that's not something that should be overlooked. It does have an effect on the handling because your cockpit is shorter with those steeper seat tube angles. Than you might imagine with a reach like that. So definitely something to consider. While it's bigger than many, I am at the upper level of the size range, and I find that limits me whenever the terrain gets really chunky and choppy. I went chumpy for the middle of the two, and that's on the descents and the ups. I find I'm just squeezing a little too compact for what I need. If you're around the 6 foot mark, it should feel sensational. And although it's big on paper, it doesn't ride that way. It's quite a light, dynamic ride. It moves around on the trail really well. You can pick it up and air over bits easily. So yeah, it's a dynamic ride. It's a fun ride, and I think that's what makes it so enjoyable for such a wide array of riding styles and people. It's just a good bike to be on. It's not shoehorned into a specific area that it does really well and not another so well at all. For steering, it's got a 40mm stem, and Norco have opted to go with a shorter offset like many bikes are these days. So the 2.9 has a 44mm offset on the fork, but they didn't just slap that on because it was kind of trendy and everyone's doing it. The development team at Norco spent a considerable amount of time testing varying stem lengths with various offset forks between the wheel sizes, and they found that basically keeping the stem length at or shorter than the offset can produce a really good riding bike, and that's what they've done here. Holy hell, they did a good job with the tyres. I've got an Exo Plus on here, jank corner, which makes them kind of suits what the bike is intended for. You can of course put heavier casings on and rally it harder for sure, but these are a good choice for most consumers. But with the damp weather we've had here and the damp weather I had in Medina, it would be nice to have some max grip. Just to tidy up those slippery moments a bit. It really lets go. Thankfully the suspension and the geometry make it able to handle that quite well, and you can just let it slide about a bit. But I would prefer a bit stickier rubber on there. When it comes to setup, the Ride Align program Norco has is possibly the best one that's out there. You've got weight, sex, the type of offset you prefer, and then you can pick your riding skill level, I guess you could call it, preference. It's not perfect because there's a lot of variables, but they've done a bang up job of it. Personally, I found I run the rear end a little deeper than Norco recommends, but I've left the volume spaces as they say, with 2 in the rear shock, and I run a little bit more compression and rebound damping to quiet it down a bit. I found the base settings really good, but I just found the back end was, especially with those bearings at the eyelets on each end of the shock, and the back end was just a bit too active for me. I wanted to quieten it down a little bit. Less movement from rider input and a bit more chassis stability when motoring through like high speed compressions like dips and off rollers and stuff like that. I just found it moved around a little too much for my liking with the lighter compression and rebound settings. Other things to set up that I changed a little bit based on their rider line was they were recommending 15mm of spaces under the stem for the 25mm rise bar that comes on the bike, and I bumped that up to 20 for general riding. I found it was too low for my preferences and body shape, whatever. And then when I was in Medina, I actually bumped it up another 5mm, so I was 25mm up when I was just pure downhilling down there. But that height here is just too much. When you're climbing, it's hard to keep your weight on the front that high up. All things considered, the 2020 Norco Sight is an excellent modern trail bike. The balance of geometry and suspension make for a great ride, comfortable in many situations and capable almost anywhere. To learn more about the Sight, check the full review on nsmb.com, and thanks for watching.